Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good
Good
morning,
morning,
now.
sir.
Good morning,
Uh,
sir.
uh, okay, so let me just do something quick on the exams you did the other time. Okay. Ah, okay, you let me share. Now this one is on the raw score. Okay, let me hide the index number. Okay, so if you can see the screen, at least you have a pretty good idea of you can see the raw score. So here I'm showing you the raw score. Decided to hide. Hey, why? Hello? Hello?
Hi,
Sir,
sir, we are here.
Hi,
Hi,
sir.
sir.
We
We
can
can
hear
hear
We
you.
can
you.
hear you.
you.
Okay, I was checking whether the microphone. Okay, that is nice. So I think the total was 192, I think. Yes. 192. So this is what the school sent me. They sent me the candidate number, then the exams was score. So that's what they gave me. So if you look at 192, a lot of people did well. Uh, a lot of the people did well. So someone got 173 over 192. That's fantastic. Someone had 152. That's pretty good. So I converted it to 100%. So 100%. Then this one, I use this grading system. So 70 and above is A, 40 and below, 30, below 30, 40 and below. This one, they read that 40 and below is, what do you call it? A fail. Now, based on that, see something. Someone even had 90%. So definitely the person had A. Okay, so these are the percentages. You see what someone got. I say more. So you can see the scores. Look at it. Someone even had 25%. So if someone gets 90 and someone gets 25%, I mean that the gap is wide. 148. 148. The test was 192. So if you subtract 48 from it, then the person got 144 questions incorrect. Day. So it goes like that. So at the end of the day, 43 people had A, and 212 had F. Hmm? So the class is what? Uh, the class is 572. So 40, so 212 divided by 572 times 100. So roughly 62% pass. So approximately 63% pass. Then 37% will have to write a receipt, which is equivalent to 212 students. Okay. So anything you want to say? Hi. Hello.
Hello,
So
sir.
that so,
Yes,
so
sir.
that's statistics. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Sir, please, have you added the continuous assessment as well? Is this the
No, this one is just
final grade or this is for the...
this one is the exams. This is the exams, the 192 questions. So that's why I said that it's 192. So it's just the exam was score out of the 132 that I've expressed in percentage.
Uh-huh.
So
Thank God.
I've not added the what do you call it? The continuous assessment. Okay.
So, sir, then
So
it means maybe if you add the continuous assessment, we can get somewhere around 80% people passing.
so that will be between 63 and 80%. That's a big jump because 37, if 37 are failing, and if I add a continuous assessment, you get 20%. That one is fine. So 20%. So but still, it means that still a certain number of people who, who actually true. So that one will be equivalent to about okay. Hi. Okay, so that is by the way. But the point that I want to make is that that people did well. Those who had the A, I mean, if you look at the gap between 144 and 55, I saw even someone getting 157. Of course, there are few there, but then the 146, 152, I mean, they did very well. 148, 148. That's something nice. But then if you are getting below 40, that one is not good enough because half of 192, half of 182 is 96. So 96 should have been okay. And 40% will be about 77. Uh-huh. So that is the statistics. And so I'm hoping this number will what? Will reduce drastically. This number will reduce drastically. Okay, but you see, if we reduce, it means that a lot of them will be jumping, will be rather be moving to D. A few people may move from the B to probably what? The A column. Okay, so that's by the way. In fact, I have not gotten the time to actually connect the. You see, there's a lot of work with the continuous assessment because some of you did it twice or thrice. How to be sieve through those ones. Uh-huh. How to sieve through those ones. So that one is work. So this one is the raw score. This is for the midterms. So you see, almost 800 because there are a lot of repeats. Uh-huh. But if you look at the continuous assessment, technically, the difference is not much between individuals. That was why I was making a point some time ago that if in the continuous assessment, let me open that one up again. So if in the continuous assessment, you are having 9, 9, 9, 8, I mean, so you see the 9 columns, a lot of the 9 columns. So that was what I'm making a point that what happened to the, so if someone is getting out of the 70, if a lot were getting more than 65, from 65 over 70, then you would expect that the exams, they will do well. They will do well. Because I don't understand why someone can manage to get 62 out of 192 or 52 out of the 192. Then if you look at the exams, the mid semester, that person will be getting 75 out of 70. That one doesn't make sense. Okay, so that kind of headache in there, you leave it to me. I'll think through those ones and see what I
Hello,
will do.
sir.
They should release the results so that we can make decisions. I don't
Hello,
understand.
sir. Hello, sir.
They should release the results before we pay our fees. Right now, the school, they are because of they want some people to graduate in August. They are busy with the final year students. Technically, next academic year will start, I think September or so. So they are working on the final years. So right now, if there's even any meeting to look at the results, I think the priority is the final years. So that's why they rule their exams at first. So I'm hoping that maybe by the close of today, uh, I also have to find out whether there were any person who did not do the midterm. So maybe hopefully by Monday, the results will be sent. The change of timetable also affect the results. No, but then I mean getting less than 50 or less than what do you call it, 60. That one there can be because the exams timetable was changed.
Hello, Sata.
Yes, there's a level that is acceptable, but there are levels to that one you can't have any
Sata,
reason
please.
apart from the fact
Please.
that the person did not either the person did not attend the lectures or stuff. I'll go further and get records of the Zoom lectures attendance and try to find out whether those people who are getting uh, 38, 37, that kind of F, you see that one, these are people who can move. But 29, I mean, that's a big gap. That's a big gap. So this person, for instance, I would definitely have to find out the class attendance and see whether the person was even joining the Zoom class. Someone wanted to say something, so the person can say it, so that we can move
Okay.
on to today's lecture.
Sata, I think we've been speaking about these exams for quite some time now, and
Is
I
that say
just want
what?
to. Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes. So,
I'm
on
listening.
behalf of myself and my colleagues, we really thank you for this opportunity given to us. But then, like I've been saying to you, please temper justice with mercy. I know you told me that the midterm had to reflect with the exams, but it didn't happen that way. And with the exams, a lot of things contributed to that. And this is not the time for us to be back and front with all these things, but we just want to say that please, we beg you, please, with majority failing is going to be an issue and it's going to cause a whole lot of issues for us, even with the current semester that we are having. So we are not going to tell you what to do as a lecturer, but we are just pleading with you that please have mercy. Please have mercy on the class. I know I've been calling you. I know that as at now, you would have taken a decision. But so please, even if you've taken a decision and it's going to cause a lot of harm, we are just pleading with you. We are just pleading with you that please have mercy on us and just temper justice with mercy. Please. Thank you very
Yo, I
much.
hear, say, wow. Uh-huh. But then, in fact, I just wanted you to, because we are in the next semester. I just wanted you to kind of have an idea of how the first semester results went, so that at least this semester you can plan it very, very well. You can look at the second semester very well, and also I also wanted you to actually see at least the raw score of the class, and for you also more or less for those who actually thrill, uh, for them to know that it means that the performance was a lot of people did well. Even if you have to use the what they call it the distribution curve, you realize that I mean those getting 20 something percent, those people, there's no way the class score will even save them. So that was the point. Because 30, someone's getting 37, 38, 39. I mean, these people are automatically what? Uh, D. But within the same class, you saw 81, you saw 74, you saw 90. And one thing that I've also, even if you are to add max, you realize that if you're adding max, it's going to affect especially this person because when you even add a max, it's advisable that you do that one across board. Uh-huh. You do that one across board. You don't pick select some people. Uh-huh. So if you look at a lot of the 39s and stuff, so definitely I believe that the number will actually what reduce. Let me see what I did with this one. What was this one? Okay. Yeah, okay, I now understand what I did. Okay. Okay. So you have 212 getting an F. Now, even if the pass mark is 30, if you did the pass mark to 30, you still get 39 people what? Trillion. Huh? If you do the pass mark, this one is for a pass mark of what? 40. If you reduce this to what do you call it? 30, you're getting what? 39. So you see that the number will reduce what? Drastically. The number will reduce drastically. Uh, let me see what happens if you reduce this to 20. That one there, let me see whether if you reduce this to 20, what's going to happen? 20. If you, this is to 20, so that is G. So if this is to 20, let's see whether it will even change. I did not change the 30. Oh, to 20. Okay, to be J rather, not I, J, J. Hey, if you reduce it to 20, that means that everyone will pass. 20% pass mark. That's interesting. Okay, that's by the way. Uh, so today that's the headache that I have to go through. Oh, Marcelo, my head is even paining me.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Sir, good morning, and then
Good morning.
thank you very much for at least briefing us on our performances. It will really help us to set up.
20% is fine. Continue.
Yes,
Now, just
it will really help us to set up and then also know what to do in our coming semesters. But then our plea to Garden City or to the institution is that when the results are released earlier, it will help the student body to know how to schedule the learning processes. You see, maybe I was taking 2 hours in learning last semester, and then I got D or I got C. Meanwhile, I was expecting A or B. So if I know that, oh, the efforts that I put last semester has gotten me this grade, then I should increase it. Okay, because most of us don't know whether the effort that we put in place has really yielded a good result. So we don't know whether we are supposed to continue with the same effort or we are supposed to put in more effort. So at least we are pleading with Garden City to release the results earlier, because even some of the students came that if they see that their results are not good or anything at all, they will just stop schooling and then maybe prepare and then come within the next. Yeah, that is what we are getting. Some people want
okay.
their results before they even pay school fees for the next semester, because
Why
they
would you start a program and you are saying that
say many
it's
people are going through some sort of emotional things, trauma, and I don't know, or
let me tell you something about uh you see the school has academic calendar. So in academic calendar will tell you the time that we write exams, the time that supplementary exams is written, the time that all those things, even the time that you are supposed to submit the end of semester results. Uh-huh. And as I told you, and also how the receipt is done. So in Garden City, when you throw, you write a receipt. And see the receipt, you can even do it carry forward. You can decide not to write the receipt. Let's say this anatomy one. You can decide not to write the receipt. Then maybe write the receipt in the third year, in the final year or whatever. So that's a system that they use. It's even KNUST, the same system. It's only the medical school that is different. The reason is that in the medical school in KNUST, if you write a receipt and you throw again, you repeat the entire class. You repeat the class. So if you throw anatomy, then during the long vac, you write the anatomy exams again. And if you throw in anatomy again, then you resit the class. Wobɛka wɔ name. So that's their system. So you cannot move when you cannot move to the next level. But here you can move to the next level and rewrite the later. I think it's because of that system. That is why sometimes the exams is like that. And I think they're also trying to change some system because with the new VC, they are trying to change some system. That is why they want some students to graduate in August. So the concentration is actually on those people. Also on those people. Because when you send the results, it goes to the HOD. The department will have to sit and look at the results. So there will be departmental board meeting. Then when all the departments are done with their looking at the results, then it moves to the what you call the school level. So because it's a school of what? Health and allied sciences. So that one too, they too look at the results again. Then before it goes to the academic board, that means the academic board. Then from the academic board, the results will be released. Because their concentration is those who are graduating the final years. Well, now that is where the concentration is. And also, some people have even doing some research, especially those in the final year, to make up those ones. So that's why it's like that. I think another thing has to do with, some lecturers are very, very stubborn. Even when the school set a deadline, sometimes they find a lot of people don't meet it. Uh-huh. So what our advice is that don't really look at your exam score as a motivation to study, because the truth is that that one it may not work. It may not work. It may not work. It may not work. I personally, I don't even I'm yet even to check the academic calendar whether I have even delayed in sending the results. But that one wasn't my fault because you realize that the last time we met and I was telling you that I've not received the results. Not knowing that what they sent me was rather the class attendance. So it was later that I pointed them, they realized that, oh, it was a mistake. They thought they sent both. So I think I received it 3 days ago. So that is it. I think this one, it can be channeled to the HOD, the HOD concerning the results. But that one, what it means is that even when you are doing that, you have to look at the academic calendar. And if the academic calendar is saying that results should be released, let's say, on 3rd June 2026, and there is 3rd June and you have not received your results, it's then that you can go to the department and kind of confront them on that, because they have to follow what is on the academic calendar. So that is that. For me, I'll send it latest Monday. It should go. Maybe we'll have our results in the 4th year first semester. No, I said that this one, we see that there's a new VC. So the new VC wants things to move quick. So it is bringing some new things. And that one, I agree with you. Garden City have not been following much when it comes to the academic calendar. Because most of the time, sometimes you send the results. Then when you hear the time that they release the results, realize that there's a big delay. So when it happens that way, it comes to a point in time when your lecture on the class, sometimes those who have been sending the results early, you also becomes lazy in sending. So maybe they remind you that, oh, we need the results, so then you begin to act. So generally, I've observed something like that. But as I'm saying, it's because of the way the research is done. It's because the way the research is done. But then you can, if you really want to see your results, even that one you can ask the lecturer. Maybe the lecturer has sent it. But as I said, all the lecturers will have to send the results. The department will have to have a meeting. So that one you can ask the lecturer if maybe, as you are saying, he give you a motivation. That one I can personally ask the lecturer. You can personally ask the lecturer. If he or she is not able to tell you, maybe probably he has not finished marking. And you know that some people too, the marking is tough, especially those where there is written. Looking at the size is some way. It's tough. The tough. So as I said, if there's anything, uh, just look at the academic calendar. If the day for the release of results has passed, then that one you can tell the school. And if the time that and you see, you look at how many weeks did you actually stay in the house. Your case is a special case. Your case is a special case in the sense that, under normal circumstance, first semester, after the end of the first semester, the break is about a month. So even if lectures are using 2 or 3 weeks, it's possible that they're able to get their results. Then in the second trimester, where there's a long back, they're able to work a lot on that. But in your case, you are general admission. So I think you have just about 2 weeks. And that time was actually more or less the time that the lecturers are supposed to use to mark. And as I said, they gave priority to the final years. So everything is on the final years. So even if they want results, they will be on the lectures to release the results. They have to consider on the final years first. So you get your results. Why? If you want to see it, you can personally ask the lecturers. They will tell you. They will tell you. They will tell you. Okay. Yeah, receipts. You see, they call it supplementary exams. Supplementary exams. So you've not failed, you trolled. So that's the word, you trolled. The expectation is that you've done the anatomy. The pass mark is 40. So if you don't get a 40, all that we are saying is that you need to sit up, go and learn it, and come and write again. Then when you get 40, more than 40, 40 or above, then of course, you say, okay, that is fine. Your foundation anatomy is okay. You can build upon it later. But if it's below that, then we say, no, this one is too weak. It's too weak. The structure is weak. You can't build upon it. You can't build upon it. That is essentially that is what it means. So writing supplementary exams is not a big deal. My only problem with those who write recit is that most of the times, sometimes they end up trailing again. There are some who will review that when you write a receipt, you should automatically pass. But please, that one doesn't work that way. Most of the time, when you are writing receipts, sometimes you trail again. So some lecturers, what they do is that some of them sometimes will repeat the same question. Sometimes some will repeat the same question. I personally, when there's a receipt, if someone have 52 out of 192, and I'm even giving the same question to that person, I mean, why is the person going to get again? So for me, normally what I do with research is that I make it a theory. And the theory, and I give the theory questions to the students. That's what the person truth. So I give the theory questions. I give most of them to the students. Then go and learn it. Now you have the question, go and learn it. So what I wanted you to know, you end up learning those ones. Then you write it in the exams. Then you pass. Then you move on. So because MCQ, there, I know the MCQ, there, it will still be a disaster. So I'm normally make it a theory. A theory. When I started Garden City, I was doing that, and there are some people they wrote anatomy about 4 times or so. They were diploma students, but that one wasn't because I was kind of tough on that. It was just because we were just lazy. You give the questions to them, still they will not. Then they don't write. They still true. I give the question to you and still true. You give the question to them, oh, still not really. There was one crowd, I think, during the Zoom lockdown. It was a homework, and one person did the work, and the other 3 students they just copied the same thing and just changed their name. Oh, so I trail all of them. You see, that's one thing about me. What I hate is laziness. So that's what I was saying that I'll look at the attendance. I will check the attendance and see whether those people who didn't do well, whether it's because they were not joining the class. If you did not, if because they did not join the class, then that one is a motivation. It's a motivation to throw them because it means that they are not serious. It means that they are not serious. So I'll do all those things. And whatever will come out, I know that it will be fair. It will be fair. And there is a high probability. Most of the time, that's what happens when you meet at the departmental level. You realize that the person that you throw probably in physiology, you see the same anatomy will also be throwing the same person. Because when it happens that this person getting, and now we don't only just look at the grade, we will look at the marks. Then you begin to understand what really happened. Begin to understand what happened. How is the person got a B in anatomy but failed in what physiology? Any serious HOD will want to investigate that. How? Why? Is the anatomy lecturer just giving marks? Or did he manufacture the marks? What happened? You see those things. And exams results are actually kept. They actually kept. And this raw score was sent to me by the school. It was yeah, this is school that sent the raw score to me. So even if I have to manipulate something, it has to be within the limits where if I'm called to explain, I can what? Explain what? Nicely. Okay. Thank you. Receipt is a part of the journey. Let not withdraw because of that. We'll graduate with or without the truth. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. But the way I see it, the number reduced drastically. The class score, you did fantastic. The class score, you did fantastic. But that one is where I'm also having a problem. You see, it doesn't make sense if in the classwork out of 30, you are getting someone getting 28, and the exams out of 70, you're getting someone getting, I mean, 12 or 15. It's some way. Anyone who looks at it will see that the midterm exam probably was compromised. And you see, especially when they want to when they call you and they ask you questions and you're not able to explain, it makes you feel some way. It makes you feel some way. Uh-huh. It makes you feel some way. So, uh, okay, so that's it. Today you're going to do the talking, most of the talking. You're going to do most of the talking because you've done it in physiology. You've done it in physiology. So, whatever the physiology lecturer said, that is what I just want to hear. Nothing more, nothing less. Okay. So let me share the slides. So we identify the parts of the brain. I think the last thing that we said was on the hydrocephalus. And we have explained hydrocephalus. So now, just as a recap, this is the brain. And we said that the main parts of the brain are the cerebrum, the diencephalon, the brainstem, and the cerebellum. The diencephalon is made up of the thalamus, hypothalamus. Then this area of the epithalamus we call the pineal gland. Then this is the brainstem, made up of the midbrain, the pons, and the medulla oblongata. Then we have the cerebellum. So those are the main parts of the brain. It's raining. Let me move to a place where you not hear the sound. Is it better now?
Yes, sir.
Is it better now?
Yes, sir.
Uh-huh. Okay, so the thalamus. Anything that you want to say about the thalamus? Please, the thalamus. The function of the thalamus. I'm interested in the function. That's all. So anyone can talk. Oh, please. Oh, please. Let's forget about share. Oh, please let's forget about the exams and the thalamus. Let's talk about the thalamus. Maybe I should have done that before the class, but that is fine. After the class. Please, the thalamus. So it's a sensory relay. Sensory what? Sensory relay area. Okay. Okay. Maybe I have to be doing most of the talking today because of what has happened. Okay, so you see the thalamus over here. So there's a thalamus, which is the diencephalon. The thalamus, as is the person saw, is the main what? Sensory what? Relay what station. It's also relay what? Motor what? Signals. So that's all that I wanted to know about the thalamus. And by that, let me show you something here. So this is the cerebrum. We have not done the cerebrum, but then this is the cerebrum. This one is the cerebrum, showing the areas of the cerebral cortex, the function area of the cerebral cortex. And this is how the thalamus looks like. We are not going to go into details about the structure of the thalamus. But we are saying that it's a major what? Relay what station. So sensory information, reception of fashion will pass through the thalamus. I also said that it's also a major what relay station for what motor what information. So the thalamus has several nuclei, So those ones that they've colored here are the nuclei representing the nuclei of the thalamus. And I said that all sense information will pass through the thalamus. Motor information also pass through the thalamus. The sensory information, I said the sense of smell. So when it passes through the thalamus, then they are relayed to a specific region of the cerebral cortex. For example, if you look at this area, this one is a frontal lobe. This is the occipital lobe. This is a frontal lobe. This is a parietal lobe. This side is occipital lobe. This area here is a post-central gyrus. So, and post-central gyrus is a primary somatosensory cortex. So this image is trying to tell us that all sensory information, pain, touch, temperature, vibration, all those information, they synapse with this nucleus of the thalamus. The VPL, then of the thalamus, then they will lead to this specific region. Then you also have those from here, the ventral posterior medial nucleus. So they too, they are projected to this part of the brain. This is a cingulate gyrus. So when information passes through the thalamus, it's signed with this nuclei here, then projected to this side. So that's what it does. So if you look at the color here, this one here, the lateral geniculate body. So you see projected to this side here, the primary visual cortex. So the information that is passing through the thalamus will relate to the specific region of the cerebral cortex. So that's what we mean by it's a relay what station. It's a relay station. All sensory information will pass, except the sense of what? A smell. Now, and that one is very, very important. If you look at this side here, this is a precentral gyrus. Then this is a primary motor area. So information that has to do with what? Movements. Is when they're also coming down, definitely they are related to what? This nucleus of the thalamus. So that is so it's even shown here. It's even shown here. Okay. So this is exactly what I was talking about. This is ventroposterolateral nucleus. So ventroposterolateral nucleus. If you look at here, look at the color. The color this side. This area that they've colored is the primary somatosensory cortex. And I'm saying that sense information that has to do with vibration, pain, pressure, temperature, they all have. They synapse with that nucleus before they are projected to a specific region of the cerebral cortex. Then ventral posterior medial nucleus. So this is a ventral posterior medial nucleus. So that one is the same thing, face, sensation, and taste. So is that one too also is that what? At the primary somatosensory cortex. So those sensations from the face too, and taste sensation, what we are saying that when the information is going to the primary somatosensory cortex, it will first synapse with what? With this particular what? Nucleus. It means that when the nucleus is damaged, there will be problem with the information what? Going to the primary somatosensory cortex. So that is all about the thalamus. Then there's a pineal gland here. This region here is called epithalamus. So the pineal gland, the epithalamus, the structure that we are interested in is the pineal gland. We know the pineal gland will secrete what? Melatonin. Melatonin is regulate your sleep-wake what cycle. Melatonin level will increase, then you feel sleepy. Then during the day, it goes what? Down. It goes down. Now, when there is lesion of the pineal gland, it can lead to what? Precocious what? Puberty. In other words, the development of the secondary sexual characteristics occur earlier than what? Than normal. So maybe, so that's that for the pineal gland. Then finally, the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus. The hypothalamus also contains a lot of nuclei, several nuclei that you can find in the hypothalamus. So these are the several nuclei that you find in the hypothalamus. The general function that I want you to know about hypothalamus is that it is the one that controls the autonomic nervous system. It controls the autonomic nervous system. It's also play. So when it comes to structure that involve hemostasis, it's actually the work of our hypothalamus. Regulation of body temperature, fluid, electrolyte balance, hunger and thirst drive, sexual behavior. All these are actually the work of the hypothalamus. It's a very small structure that is very, very, very important. Now, this image here is showing us the relation between the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland. So we are saying that it maintains body homeostasis through control of the autonomic nervous system and endocrine system via the pituitary gland. And this one is just trying to explain that. So there's this connection between the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland. Now, if you look at the pituitary gland, we divide them into two. There is an anterior lobe, the adrenal hypophysis, and there's a posterior lobe, the neural hypophysis. Now, within that adrenal hypophysis, there are several cells. There are several cells there. Now, what the hypothalamus does is that the hypothalamus produces releasing hormone or inhibiting what hormones that will act on the cells in the anterior pituitary gland. So, for example, the hypothalamus will produce what we call the gonadotropin releasing hormone. The gonadotropin releasing hormone. Then into the anterior pituitary gland. The gonadotropin releasing hormone will act on specific cells here. For example, the gonadotropes. And these gonadotropes will release FSH and LH. And that one happens when you reach puberty. And we know what the LH and the FSH does in terms of reproduction. So that one is just an example. Another thing is that hypothalamus also produce some hormones, two important hormones, oxytocin and antidiuretic hormone. These hormones that are produced in the hypothalamus are stored in the posterior lobe. We know the role of oxytocin during lactation and doing uterine contraction. And we know the role of APPIAH in water regulation, Now, this diagram here, I'm not trying to you should just memorize them, but it's just some idea that I want you to know. That there are specific nuclei within the hypothalamus that perform these several functions that we are talking about. For example, the hypothalamus, the nuclei that produce the oxytocin and the antidiuretic hormone are the paraventricular and the supraoptic nucleus. So they produce oxytocin and ADH. So when there's distraction in this particular nucleus, then of course ADH will not be released. And that one can lead to a condition that we call diabetes insipidus. So damage to the paraventricular nucleus, the hypothalamus, or its pathway into the posterior lobe. When there's a damage, it means that it's going to affect the release of ADH, and a person will have a rare type of diabetes that we call diabetes insipidus. Now, if I'm also to look at, we said that the hypothalamus has a role in terms of hunger and hunger. So there's a particular nucleus that's actually responsible for that. The lateral nucleus of the hypothalamus. This is the one that stimulation will induce eating. So once that one is damaged, then it will lead to starvation. So you realize that the medial nucleus, that stimulation results in obesity and savage behavior. So when specific region of the nucleus of the hypothalamus is destroyed, it will present itself in a specific way. So when we are looking at the hypothalamus, we are just looking at the general function. Very, very important when it comes to hemostasis. But I just want you to know not that there are specific nuclei, and those nuclei have specific functions. So damage to that specific function will manifest itself in a particular way. But then you need to remember these two, that I'm not going to treat the endocrine system. The endocrine system is more physiology. But then when we are doing the reproductive system, I'll mention something, and that was what I just did about the hypothalamus producing the gonadotropin releasing hormone that will act on the gonadotropes to release FSH and LH. Then when we still on the reproductive system, then also when we are doing the urinary system, you need to remember that the paraventricular and the supraoptic nuclei of the hypothalamus produces ADH on oxytocin, and they are stored within the posterior lobe of the pituitary gland. So there are no cells in the posterior lobe that secrete oxytocin and ADH. They actually produce in the hypothalamus, but then they get stored in the posterior lobe. So that is with the diencephalons. So we are done. So let's look at the brainstem. Yes.
Sir, please. Good morning and thank
Yes.
you for the opportunity.
Good
So please,
morning.
when you were doing the thalamus, you mentioned something in a flash, and I didn't get it well, so I want you to kindly go back to it for me. You mentioned that the precentral jagos, it does something. I didn't get that one.
You don't worry. You get that one. You get that one. But if there's anything, I was saying that the hypothalamus is a major relay station. Then I was saying that all sensory information all sensory information, the sensory information, they all go to this side of this area that they call this area here. It's called the post-central gyrus. Functionally, is a primary somatic body wall. And if you remember, when I was doing the introduction to anatomy, I said something here, there's somatic sensory and visceral sensory. So these somatic sensory, touch, pain, pressure, vibration, temperature, those sensation, what I'm saying is that they will all pass through the thalamus and they are going to this area here, the primary somatosensory cortex. That's where they are going. On its way, they will synapse with a specific what? Nuclei of the hypothalamus. And here I mentioned this particular what? Nuclei of the nucleus of the hypothalamus, the ventral posterolateral nucleus. So definitely when that one is damaged, then the tract that is carrying information to this area, a synapse and it goes here. That means it cannot. That means the person, if there's pain, temperature information, the person will not be able to what? Perceive it. The person will not be able to perceive it. Those that is coming from the face, they pass through a specific what? The ventral posterior medial nucleus. And this is the area that they are coming. And watch this area here. You see, they say face sensation. When we do the cerebrum, you understand that this side here is face. This side here is face. Then the one at the top here be your leg. The body is staying what? Upside what? Down. So that was what I was saying. Okay. Then there's even this one too. The lateral geniculate body or nucleus of the hypothalamus. So you see, this area here, you know that this is the primary visual cortex. So what it means is that the visual information, when it's going, it will have to synapse with the lateral geniculate one body on its way to the primary visual heart cortex. If there's a damage here, then it means that the information will not reach that place. Then I would say that it's all the sensory information that we are talking about. Of course, the sense of smell doesn't pass there. But we're also saying that it's also a realization for motor what? For motor what information. Information from the cerebellum and the basal nucleus, when they also pass to what? The thalamus. So Semo, today let me move again. Then we are looking at the brain stem. The brain stem is made up of the midbrain, the pons, and the medulla oblongata. The midbrain, the pons, and the medulla oblongata. What is so important about the midbrain is that, I'm saying about the brain stem. The brain stem is made up of the midbrain, the pons, and the medulla oblongata. What is so important about the brain stem is the fact that cranial nerve 3 and to cranial nerve 12, they all come from the brain stem. Now, this is the ventral area, then this is the dorsal. So posterior view, and this is the anterior view. So this is cranial nerve 3, this is cranial nerve 4, this is cranial nerve 5, cranial nerve 6, cranial nerve 7, cranial nerve 8, cranial nerve 9, cranial nerve 10, cranial nerve 11, then this is cranial nerve 12. They all originate from the anterior surface of the brain stem. The only cranial nerve that emerges from the back is cranial nerve 4, the trochlear nerve. So about the midbrain, it means that when you look at it, and let me also show you something here. If you look at the brain stem, information that is going to the cerebral cortex, look at this. This is the brain stem. This is the brainstem. The midbrain, the pons, and the medulla oblongata. So between the cerebral cortex and the spinal cord, information will travel along the what? The brainstem. Information will travel along the brainstem. Within the brainstem, we have the cerebral aqueduct. The midbrain, we have the cerebral aqueduct. And between the pons, behind the pons and the medulla, we have the fourth ventricle. So remember those ones. So for the brainstem, that means if ascending and descending information will pass through what? The brainstem between the cerebral cortex and the spinal cord. Now, this is about the midbrain. The cranial nerves that are associated with the midbrain is cranial nerve 3 and cranial nerve 4. Cranial nerve 3 and cranial nerve 4. We call this one the cerebral peduncle. So if I've heard it's carrying what? Ascending and descending what information. Now, if you look at the back of the midbrain, you are going to see these 1, 2, 3, 4 rounded elevation. We call it the colliculus. Plural is colliculi. So this is the superior colliculi. This is the inferior colliculi. So if we are going to talk about the function of the midbrain, then of course we need to know that you need to talk about the function of the superior colliculi and the function of the inferior colliculi. Then also, I've also explained to you that it contains nucleus of cranial nerve 3 and cranial nerve 4. Now, the superior colliculi, what does it do? It's important in what? Visual reflexes. Visual reflexes. Like turning the eyes and head toward a sudden visual stimulus. So something flashes, then you turn your eye. So that kind of reflex, head movements, that one is what? Is due to the superior colliculi. Then the inferior colliculi will be for what? Auditory reflex. Auditory reflex. Where you turn the head towards what? A sudden a sound. So that kind of reflex is the work of the superior colliculi and inferior colliculi. If you want to know which one is which, the eye is above the ear. So superior colliculi is for visual reflex. The inferior colliculi is for auditory reflex. I've already explained to you the cerebral peduncle, which carry major pathway between the cerebral cortex and the spinal cord. There's something else. There's this one here. Let me also tell. This one is within the substantia nigra. Is in the substantia nigra is in the midbrain. The substantia nigra is in the midbrain. So this one is the midbrain. This is the midbrain. Within the midbrain, there's the cerebral aqueducts. So the midbrain is divided into ventral and dorsal. There is this pigmented area here. It contains melanin. This pigmented area here is the substantia nigra. The substantia nigra. So the substantia nigra actually separates, divide the midbrain into ventral and dorsal. I want you to, if there's anything that you need to know about this substantia nigra, look, this is what you have in a normal person. But with someone with Parkinson's disease, this is what happens. The substantia nigra produce a neurotransmitter dopamine. So when there is the degeneration of the neurons in the substantia nigra, less dopamine is produced. And that one has been linked to Parkinson disease. Parkinson disease. So the substantia nigra is located in the middle brain. Now the pons. The pons, what I want you to remember about the pons is the fact that, in fact, the word pons means bridge. So it's a bridge between the cerebellum, and the medulla oblongata. And if there's anything that I want to remember, it has to do with the fact that, remember when we were doing the respiration, we said that respiratory centers are in the medulla and in the pons. The primary center is the medulla. The primary center is the medulla. Then cranial nerve 5 to cranial nerve 8, their nuclear is also located there. This cranial nerve 5, cranial nerve 6, cranial nerve 7, cranial nerve 8, their nuclei are located in the pons. So of course, if you know the function of these cranial nerves, nuclei, then of course you also will know the other functions of the pons. Then the last one is the medulla oblongata. So medulla oblongata, this is the medulla oblongata. So that one, especially cranial nerves 9, cranial nerve 10, cranial nerve 11, the cranial nerve 4. Cranial nerve 9, 10, 11, and 12. The medulla oblongata is associated. The cranial nerve nuclei of 9 to 12 are located in the medulla oblongata. Now, there are two specific functions that I want you to know with respect to the medulla oblongata. There are some structures that are you get it. I will say it again in future. Now, the first one I want you to get is this one. Okay, let's look at the general function. So look at the general function of the medulla oblongata. The medulla oblongata. So the medulla oblongata contains the vital centers. Your cardiac center, your vasomotor center, and the medulla respiratory centers are located in the medulla oblongata. So when we're looking at the heart and we're talking about so the cardiac center is in the medulla. We are talking about blood pressure, it's in the medulla. The medulla also contains control reflexes like swallowing, coughing, sneezing, gagging, vomiting, and hiccuping. So that is the medulla oblongata for you. And in terms of anatomy, there's a structure that I want you to see. You see, on the ventral surface of the medulla, you see these structures here. We call this the pyramids. We call the pyramids. This because in the cerebral cortex, there are some neurons that we call pyramidal neurons. They are shaped like a pyramid. They are very large. Their axons will form tracts. And this bulging that you are seeing here is because there is information, the axons in a specific region of the cerebral cortex, the precentral gyrus. They form what we call the corticospinal tract. Corticospinal, that means from the cerebral cortex to the spinal cord. It is these fibers that is causing these bulging that you are seeing here. Now, these fibers, when they reach here, the cotospinal tract, when they reach here, they cross. So this is the dislocation. So you use the word decussate. So this region here is where they cross. Because you've heard that the left cerebral hemisphere, we say, that controls the right side of the body. And the right cerebral hemisphere controls the left side of the body. It is due to the crossing of this cortical spinal tract. As the corticospinal tract. And for information, the corticospinal tract is carrying what voluntary information. Voluntary information. Voluntary information. That, I mean, that has to do with controlling the what do you call it? The skeletal muscles. So those one that cross, those one that cross are the lateral corticospinal tract. So they are responsible for the fine voluntary movements of the limbs, especially the distal part, the hand and the fingers. So that's what they do. And about 85 to 90% of these fibers, so the corticospinal tract, what I'm saying, about 85 to 90% of these fibers, they cross. Those one that cross is what we are calling the lateral corticospinal tract. And they are the responsible for the fine movements of your hand and your fingers. The distal, Then those one that do not cross, they control the muscles of the neck, the trunk, and the proximal limb. So that is the cortical spinal tract. When we do the spinal cord, I might mention that one again. But what I want you to note here is that this bulging here is due to the corticospinal tract, which is carrying what? Information that has to do with what? Voluntary movement. Most of the fibers, they cross. And because of the crossing, that is why we are saying, we say that left hemisphere controls the right, and the right hemisphere controls what? The left. Those that cross are called the lateral. Those that do not cross are the anterior corticospinal tract. Now, when a child is born, you realize that although the external anal sphincter and the external urethral sphincter, although they are skeletal muscles, you realize that for a child who is 3 years old, less than 3 years old, for them, they don't have control over them. They urinate and they defecate on themselves. This is because this corticospinal tract, when the baby child is born, they are not fully myelinated. They are not fully myelinated, and that is how come they don't have control over their over the external inner sphincter and the external urethral sphincter. But then when the myelination is complete, then of course they will have control. When they grow old and there's a damage, then of course it comes back again. Okay. Okay, that's now. I'm not going to talk about the olive air. Then there's this one too that you find at the back. I'm mentioning those ones because when we are doing the spinal cord, you see me mentioning it. So that's why I just wanted to know that one. You see that there's this bulge in here. There's this bulge, and there's that bulge. So this one is on the right. This is counterpart on the left. Then this one, and there's that one. So you see here, they call this one the gracile, and this one is the Kunitz tubercle. So for those ones to what I can say is that you remember information such as touch, vibration, and proprioception. You remember what I was saying here? It's a vibration, pain, pressure, proprioception, light, touch, temperature. We say that they all pass through this nucleus of the hypothalamus and they go to this specific region. Now, information that has to do with proprioception, information that has to do with vibration, information that have to do with touch. We are saying that where is it going? It's going to this specific area of the cerebral cortex. All that I am saying is that information, they will pass here. They will stand up with the nuclei here. So information that has to do with touch, vibration, and proprioception. From those below T6, you know, when I say T6, you understand. T is thoracic, below. So information that has to do with touch, vibration, at the lower half of the body. In other words, below T6. What we are saying is that information, they will pass here, the more medial one. And those from the upper part, that information that has to do with touch. If someone touch your face, if someone touch your hand, touch your neck, that's or there's you can feel move when you move your hand. You see there are some receptors there that will tell you that you move your heart, a part of the body. That's what we call proprioception. What we are saying that above T6, they are going to pass here. They are going to pass here. Aha. So it means that so it is those ones, the nuclei that is causing the bulging that you are seeing over here. But this one, because it has, remember, medulla oblongata, then the spinal cord. Aha. So when we do the spinal cord, I'll be talking about that one too. That's why I decided to talk about those specific nuclei, just for you to understand it when we are looking at the spinal cord. So that is all that I want you to know respect to the medulla oblongata, the sites of pyramidal discussion, where about 85 to 90% of corticospinal fibers cross to the opposite side. This crossing explains why a cerebral hemisphere controls voluntary movements on the opposite side of the body. Then there's this thing. Within the brainstem, there is a network of nerves. You see, the word reticulum means nerves. So within the brainstem, you have this kind of diffuse, interconnected nuclei within the brainstem, the midbrain, the pons, and the medulla. And they have connection to the cerebral cortex, connection to the cerebellum. So we call it the reticular formation. Now, I am saying that because the reticular formation, these are the general functions of the reticular formation. One of them is this, is the one that makes you alert and attentive, arousal. Now, that network of neurons that you find in the brainstem, that way I'm saying that has connection to the diencephalon, to the cerebellum, and to the spinal cord. There's a particular component, the ascending aspect. We call it the reticular activation system. It's the one that was responsible for consciousness, arousal, and attention. And when there is damage, when there is the damage to this reticular activation system, then you can go into what? A coma. When there is damage, it can lead to a coma. When that even to what? Death. You can even die. You can even die. Now, so if you are awake and you are aware of your environment, that is the work of the reticular activation system. So you see, when you sleep, sound, someone touch you, someone open the curtains, the lights comes into the room. Those ones are going to activate the what? Reticular activation system. Then you become what? Awake. You become awake. Now, the advice here is this. There is minimal inputs from olfactory pathway. So when you are asleep and there is a smoke, the smoke itself does not directly activate the reticular activating system. That smoke does not. That is why you are supposed to install a smoke alarm so that when there's fire, the smoke will cause the alarm to make a sound. And that sound will cause you to what? Wake up. That's the work. So the RAS receive little or no input from the olfactory pathway. So smell alone may not awaken a sleeping person. Accordingly, smoke detectors in sleeping areas should employ loud auditory alarms. And for those who are hearing impaired, they have vibrating device or flashing lights alarm. So that is the reticular activation system. An anterior aspect sending fibers of the reticular formation. So please, that reticular formation for you, very, very what? Important. So this one, an objective from here will be so simple. And when you get your notes, then of course you can look at. Then this one too is very, very important. The filter sensory input, allowing the brain to ignore repetitive or unimportant stimuli. So for example, you may be in an environment and even let's say you are in a classroom, the lecturer is teaching. Maybe there may be some people who are also talking. You are receiving all those information. The reticular information will will not allow you to be bombarded with all those information that is coming here. No. It will ignore all those ones that are not important so that you can only focus on the main one. So even if there's a woman, you have so many children who are crying and your child is there, the reticular formation will filter all the unnecessary cries, the one that is not your baby, so that you only will pick the cry that is coming from your child. So very, very important. They even modulate pain perception, whether the thing is painful or not. That's a work. But what I want you to know is its role in making you conscious, making you alert, and making you attentive. When you sleep, that means that it's not at work. When it's damaged, then of course it can lead to coma.
Say a question.
Where there's loss of consciousness. Yes, you can ask your question.
Okay, so my questions are in two folds. The first has to do with this reticular activating system that we are talking about. So in a
Mhm.
situation whereby a person sleeps a lot, let's say that person sleeps so deeply that even something like touch, or maybe how do I even put it? There are some people when they sleep, you need to even pour, if when you put water on them, cry, they won't wake up. So in that case, would you say their reticular activating system is not working, or is kind of kind of down? And the second thing is has to do with it filtering the sensory inputs. With with what you are teaching us, is it that the reticular activating system is also filtering whatever you are giving us, in a sense that it tells us to let's say understand this, maybe what you are teaching us, or we should leave this thing, we should leave this information that you are giving to us. I don't know whether you understand.
So, so when reticular activating system decreases, then of course, then you fall into what? You fall into what? Sleep. So, uh, you see, when it comes to being attentive, so we are saying that is the work of that one. But remember, that's what we're saying is a diffuse thing. Because you're looking at all the things that you have in the brain stem, midbrain, pons, and the medulla. And we are saying that it has connection with what? Other parts of what? Or the brain. We are saying that that is what is responsible for. So what we are saying that if there's a damage there, it can lead to coma and even cause you to what? Even death. So if the person is not attentive, or some of the sleeping what disorders, so that they have uh, uh, is due to some disorders related to the what? To the reticular what? Activating what system. So if you look at narcolepsy, insomnia, hyperinsomnia, they are all associated to what? They are sleep disorders, but it has a way, it has a connection to the reticular activating system. It has a connection to the reticular activating system. Because when activity goes down, then you fall into sleep. Then you wake up, you become attentive. Uh, so those people who may be sleeping, that means there's a reduced what activity. But the reduced activity may not be the only reason. What is the cause of the reduced activity? Maybe the person is tired. It can be the person is tired, or the person, there's lack of interest in what the person is in the lectures. So those ones are going to cause the person not what uh, attentive. So uh, yeah, so that's it. So that's it. So once you are late and you are attentive to something, we are saying that yeah, it means that it's activated. Activated. So that's why you are able to pay attention the more. But when activity reduces, of course, then you not be what you not be attentive to the lectures.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Hmm.
Hello, sir. Please, I want
Yes,
to
yes, you can.
ask, please, I want to know the difference. I think what he was saying, and when normally anybody sleep, when you sleep, there is a time that you are very deep, whatever they do around you, you don't really get to know anything. That's if you just go to sleep and you are like the deep, when you are in the deep zone. So what's the thin line between the normal deep zone for uh, biologically that everybody is supposed to have, and when it's becoming abnormal? Maybe that's what he is trying to describe. So some people, they will pour water and then they are still sleeping, or they sleep very deep for a long time. So normally when someone sleep deep, within 20 minutes, if someone rings a bell, you wake up. But if you just go into sleep, you might not hear all of that, maybe due to tiredness or all of that. So I want to know the thin line between crossing from normal to abnormal. Thank
That's fine. Uh, I don't think I'll be able to answer it very well because that one has to do with the sleep. They talk about stages of sleep. So a particular there's a particular stage in a sleep where there are some people they never had reached there. Some too also had reached there. And there are some people they don't even dream. Some people who dream. Some people when they sleep, they wake up the door now, then they are awake. Others still when they sleep, even as you are saying, when it's raining deeply and stuff, they will not wake up. What it means is that there's definitely a problem with the connection within the reticular activating system that we are talking about, and that's why those things are happening. So if it's insomnia, difficult or initiating or maintaining what sleep, we are saying that in that case, what it means is that the reticular activating system, you see, then when there's reduced activity, then you're having that kind of thing. So in this case, means that if it is overexpressed, the over suppressed. When it's suppressed, then of course you find it difficult initiating or maintaining sleep. So it's about the activity within the system. When it goes down, then there's sleep. When it gets damaged at all, then you are having what do you call it? We are saying that coma. Now, this reticular activation system, it does not work alone because the thalamus is there. The hypothalamus also has a role there because look at it. It regulates the sleep-wake cycle. So it's a whole network. And I don't know whether I'll call it, if it is normal to the person, then of course, then there's no problem. If it's normal to the person, when the person sleeps, the person goes into a very, very deep stage of the sleep, where the reticular activating system is suppressed so much that it will need a lot of serious signal to activate it. Then that one is that one is okay. It doesn't have any. You will not look at it as it's a disorder. Maybe probably the person anytime the person sleeps, the person reaches the deep stage of the sleep. And those ones who more or less immediately you enter the room and they wake up, it means that for them, it means that slight thing is the one that's activating. It means that the reticular activating system has not been suppressed that much. It also may mean that the person has not gone to the a deep stage of sleep. And I have to be careful with that one because you see, there are some things that are normal. There are things that are normal. There are people when they sleep, they don't even reach a deep stage of sleep, a stage where they're even supposed to have dreams. But some people they just reach that stage. So those ones are maybe some differences that may not necessarily be a pathological situation. That's why I'm saying that if it changes, then of course that we can say that there is there's a problem. There's a problem.
Sir. Sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir, please. I'm sorry, but it looks like I'm going to take out a bit, but my hand has been raised for a while now. Sir, please, about
Hey,
the
I'm
nomination.
not looking at that. All mothers will be beaten.
Sir, please, can I go on?
Yes.
Yes, please. Say about the malination of the tract that makes it like the when it is not yet malinated and children urinate on themselves. So I want to find out at what age or how long does it take in a person's lifespan before the malination happens? Because we have people who urinate on themselves even to some certain age. Some people cross secondary school no more than 100 some. So what happened? Is it solely that or the other conditions that causes that delay?
So that's why we say that generally, this one part that you yourself you'll be able to tell me. Uh, I'm not going to look at what books are telling us, but generally, at what time do children stop urinating on themselves?
So
At what age?
usually when they before when they sleep in sleep,
So,
sometimes 2 years, then they will stop urinating on
uh-huh.
themselves during sleep. But even some
So,
people awake, they stop urinating before getting into 2 years.
so of course there will be, differences. But malation actually starts whilst you are in prenatal life. Uh-huh. But then, what we are saying is that so if we are talking about around 3 years, so maybe if the child is 5 years and the child is still urinating, urinates on himself, then what we are saying is that uh, you you have to look at maybe you have to check, is it the problem from the brain, or is the fact that maybe the child is just lazy, or the child, when he or she is going to sleep, he or she takes in a lot of water. Is that the cause? So those ones will have to be what investigated first. Before you can, because that way of just beating the child in there, that one there is not the way what to go. And those ones you realize that the child too must be trained. There's a time that you have to train the child if you want the child to stop urinating what early. So there's this kind of behavioral what aspect to. You see, we talk about biological what clock. So the child is going to sleep. The child urinates before going to sleep. Then that is when you are around the 1 year, 2 years, when you are controlling, you are teaching the child. Then you wake up the child at night to go and what urinate. But then if you don't allow that kind of behavioral thing, apart from what is actually also happening in terms of the malination, then of course the child will be even 5 years cry. It may be normal. Just that the behavioral thing is not being done properly. And so the child is just like that. The full malination in here, sometimes it can takes a lot of time, because for example, if you look at the way someone who is 5 years and someone who is, let's say, uh, uh, 8 years or 9 years, the way they're able to move the hand, your answer is not the same. I explained that the lateral corticospinal tract is responsible for the fine movements of the what of the distal what limbs. So you realize that uh, it takes more time. So maybe around the 5 compared to around the 8, the malination still is not fully what done. You realize that when we do the spinal cord, there's this sort of reflex that they call the Babinski reflex or Babinski sky. You remember that one? Please do remember that one. Please do remember the Babinski sign where you slope
No, sir.
someone's plantar surface.
Yes, sir.
You don't know that one.
No,
No,
sir.
you lie. You know it. Okay.
I
When we
have
do the rest,
forgotten.
we'll talk about that.
So when you stroke the leg, your toes they go inside in response to the reflex, in response to your stimulus.
You mean the plantar surface, you know what?
Yes.
Yes. So when you slope, let me see whether I can get to when you okay, I'm not connected to okay. So that's a Babinski kind of reflex. So it's a spinal. It's one of the reflexes that I've had. You can check. So like this one, for
So,
example,
like this,
this one here.
this one,
So you see this one.
so you see this one.
Can you
You
see
see
the
this one.
image? Can you see? Have you seen
Have you
the
seen
image?
it?
You see this one.
You see this one.
So when you stroke
So when you
the
stroke,
person, what
the same
plantar heart surface, there's someone who's needs. Okay. So there's the kind of reflex. So when you check reflexes, you are checking specific spinal cord level. So see what the instructor is doing. Stroke the plantar heart surface. So when you stroke the plantar surface, what you are going to see is that you're going to see plantar heart fleshing. So the lateral sole of the foot. So you're going to see what plantar heart fleshing. You're going to see plantar fleshing. This is the plantar surface. So as you said, the toes will curl what downwards. Now, if you get the reverse, if there is a dorsal fleshing, if there's a dorsal fleshing, then what we are saying is that one is abnormal. That one is abnormal. But that abnormal one is normal. It means that if there's a dorsal fleshing, then it means that there's a problem with the corticospinal heart tract. So the plantar reflex, the Babinski test, normal, the toe flex downwards. Now, if the toe extend up, there's a dorsal fleshing. It's abnormal in infants, in adults, but it's normal in what? In infants. It's normal in what? In infant. And it has to do with what? The corticospinal tract. As we say that, it's normal in children because the corticospinal tract is not fully myelinated. So what you think is pathological in adults is actually what? A normal in what? In infants. So in assessing some reflexes, it's one of the reflex that is also what checked.
So I have a question.
Yes.
My hand has been up for some time now. Yes.
Okay, can ask.
A follow up to the corticospinal and tract. And is it the case that in some elderly, when they have this incontinence, is it the case that maybe there is degeneration of their corticospinal tract? And that's first. Secondly, you told us nerve, cranial nerve 3 to 4 is found in the midbrain, then 5 to 8 found in the ponds, and then 9 to 12 in the oblongata. But you didn't tell us 1 to 2, where we can find 1 to 2 within the brainstem.
Because that one is not in the brainstem.
It's not in the brainstem.
So
Okay.
the cranial nerve 3 and 12 is associated with the brainstem. And I think I have to say something. Please, this corticospinal, this plantar what reflex thing, please, it's not, the test is not 100%. The test is not 100%. The test is not 100%. So I think I also have to say that. In other words, maybe you can even check yourself. Maybe you may stroke the sole of your foot. You may not feel anything. You are supposed to plantar flex. Some people know not plantar flex. It's just like when you tickle someone's armpit, some people they don't respond. They don't respond. And we say that the person is not sensitive. No when you're there. It's some people it may be normal. It's not because they have a problem. But we're saying that if there's a dorsiflexion, there's a problem. And we expect plantar flexion and there is dorsiflexion, so there's a problem. Then what I'm saying is that if the person nothing happens, normal is when there is a plantar flexion, but it doesn't happen. What I'm saying that one to does not mean that the person has a problem. It may be normal. Me, if you try to tingle me, cry, my armpit, whatever, me, I'll not even respond. Whether I'm aware or not aware, I will not say it does not mean anything. It's normal in some people. So there will be another way of you may check the S1 nerve.
So my first question is not answered yet.
The cranial nerve.
No, the first question was on the corticospinal tract, whether is due to degeneration in some elderly that makes them to experience incontinence.
Okay. You remember I told you that the corticospinal tract is actually coming from neurons in the cerebral cortex, specifically neurons in the cerebral cortex, specifically the precentral gyrus. So sometimes, let me look at the cerebrum and just show you. So the cerebrum, this side here is a precentral gyrus. This is where primary motor area. So this one here and this side. And we are saying that around this area here in the frontal lobe, voluntary movements, the neurons that are here is the one that was responsible for voluntary movement. So when there is in the elderly that you are saying, like maybe there's a stroke or there is a disease condition that affects the upper motor neurons, then of course it's going to affect, because the neurons that here, they are axons as well forming the corticospinal tract. So yes, that's why I said that some people when they grow old, they have problem with what? They have to be wearing diapers and stuff. That means that they have a problem with what? The neurons. In their case, it's not because of necessary demyelination by its own, but then there is a problem with what? What they call the upper motor neuron disease. The information from all the way coming down, there is what? There's a damage. And that is why. If there is demyelination too may can result in that. But then what is causing the demyelination? It means that there's the reason why I don't want to restrict to just to demyelination is that, the demyelination, the oligodendrocyte is the one that produce what? What do you call it? the myelin sheet in the central nervous system. And we have the what they call the Schwann cells producing myelin sheet. You know that there's specific disease that affects the myelin sheet. You know, multiple sclerosis. Do you know multiple sclerosis? Huh? Okay, do you know multiple sclerosis? Hello? You don't know multiple sclerosis? Hey, we did that one. We did it, you. We did it when we're doing the neurons, no. We did that one. We did that one. So in your case, what you are talking about is what? If you are talking about demyelination itself, then it means that you are talking about multiple sclerosis. Because multiple sclerosis results in demyelination. It's a demyelination disease of the brain. In other words, it affects the oligodendrocyte. Because oligodendrocytes are the one who's supposed to produce what myelin sheets in the central nervous system. So if maybe later on that the person gets the multiple sclerosis where the myelin sheath is affected, then of course what you are saying can happen. But then anything that causes the nerve cells here to get damaged or the corticospinal tract to get damaged, which we generally classify as upper motor neuron defects, can result in this abnormal Babinski sign. So when we do the spinal cord, we'll talk about the upper motor neuron and lower motor neuron defects. Then lastly, the what do you call it? The cerebellum. The cerebellum coordinates the timing, precision, and smoothness of voluntary movement. So if you want to carry out voluntary movements, if you look at this image, it's actually coming from what? Here. We are saying that there is a primary motor area. Primary motor. So the neurons, they are all from here. Now, but then what the cerebellum does is that it ensures that there's coordination of the voluntary movements. So that's what I'm saying, that is timing and precision. So in cerebellum, if you see when there's cerebral damage, sometimes they'll tell the person to touch the nose or be touching the nose. The person index finger should be able to land on the nose nicely. If it passes the nose, then it means that there's a problem with the coordination. There's a problem with the coordination. The muscles that are supposed to contract, the muscles that are supposed to relax, there is a problem there. So that's what the cerebellum does. That is why when someone has cerebral disease, there's what we call ataxia, where there's unsteady gait and poor coordination. You see someone who is what do you call it? Drunk before. So you see the way they walk. Because there is poor coordination. The alcohol has affected their cerebellum. So that's why there is poor what coordination. Then the cerebellum is also needed in what posture and what and balance and posture and balance. So if you close your eyes and you raise your hands up, you know that your hand is raised. If you raise your legs, even if your eyes closed, you know that your legs have been raised. Because the ear, the part that is involved in balancing and what posture. And the information that you are sending, they are sending it to what? To the cerebellum. They are sending it to the cerebellum. So these are cerebellar damage is ipsilateral. It means that if the left cerebellar hemisphere is damaged, lesion in the left cerebral hemisphere will affect the left side of the body, not the opposite side. Is ipsilateral. That means on the same side. Right side, cerebral damage will affect the right side. The classical sign that you need to know is what? Intention, what? Tremor. Intention, tremor. You realize that if you tell the person to touch something, then the hand will be shaking. That is the intention, what? Tremor. Tremor doing voluntary what? Movement. It's absent at rest. In fact, this is how we're able to diagnose cerebellum disease and Parkinson what disease. In Parkinson disease, even when the hand is at rest, it will be what? It will be shaking. So they call it P rolling tremor occurs at rest and it appears with voluntary what movement. Cerebral disease is the opposite. That's what we call the intention what tremor. So if you tell the person to touch the nose, the hand will be what? Will be shaking. But then if the hand is at rest, it will not be shaking. But if the hand is at rest and it's still shaking, then of course you can be thinking about Parkinson's disease. Then you have this one, this dicokinesia, inability to perform rapid alternating movement. If you tell the person to do pronation and supination, you realize that the person, it will be very, very, very slow. So that one is class sign that the person has this cerebellar problem. And there's even hypotonia, where there's reduced muscle tone. Then you have this the eye moving like that. So that's what we call nystagmus. But remember the intention trauma, because that one is a very important sign. So cerebellum, that's what it does. Balance and posture, then coordinating, is responsible for what? What do you call it? Coordinating what? Voluntary what? Movement. That's all you need to know about the cerebellum. Anatomically, okay, let's leave this one because there are specific parts. Look at this. There's the anterior lobe and there's the posterior lobe of the cerebellum. Then there's this lobe of the cerebellum. It is this part here, the frontonodular lobe. That is the part that's actually responsible for balance and what? The balancing that we are talking about. Then is the hemisphere. Anterior and posterior lobe. Those ones are what is responsible for the coordination. You let me leave that one out. So this is the cerebellum for you. This is anterior lobe and this is the posterior lobe of the cerebellum. And this is the frontonodular lobe. The cerebellum has two hemispheres. This is the left hemisphere. Then there's a right hemisphere. Left hemisphere, right hemisphere. In between, what is connecting the two is what we call the vermis. What we call the vermis. So this is the vermis. This is the vermis. Connecting the left and right cerebral hemisphere. This is the vermis. I'm saying that because it is when there is the damage to the vermis that actually will lead to what? Truncal ataxia. And when the lesion is on the hemispheres. So there are two hemispheres and they are connected by what? The vermis. They are connected by the vermis. So vermal lesion is what will lead to truncal what ataxia. The cranial nerves that you ask, cranial nerve 1 and cranial nerve 2 are actually extension of the brain. Cranial 1 are actually extension of the brain. Cranial nerve 1 is extension of the third encephalon. Cranial nerve 2 is extension of the diencephalon. Cranial nerve 3 to cranial nerve 12 arise from the brain stem. All of them arise, they arise ventrally, except cranial nerve 4 that arises what dorsally. Now, for the cranial nerves, if you want to remember the cranial nerves, you can use this profane one to help you remember the cranial nerves. To touch and feel against vagina are harming. So you can use this profane one or the one below. Then some of the cranial nerves are sensory, some are motor, some are mixed. So that one too, you can use this mnemonic. Some say marry money, but my brother says big brains matter most. The profane one is some say marry money, but my brother say big boobs matter what most. What this one means that the first cranial nerve is sensory, the second one is sensory, the third one is motor, the fourth one is motor, the fifth one is both sensory and what motor. Then another thing that you need to know about the cranial nerves is that the cranial nerves, all of them, they supply the head and neck. Cranial nerve 1 to cranial nerve 11, they all supply the head. To cranial nerve 12, they supply the head and neck, except cranial nerve 10, the vagus nerve. In fact, the word vagus comes from the word vagabond. So the vagabond nerve is the only cranial nerves that goes to innervate the thorax and the abdomen. Goes to innervate the thorax and abdomen. Then another thing that I want you to note is that some of the cranial nerves have parasympathetic function. Cranial nerve 3, when I say they have parasympathetic function, it means that these cranial nerves, they supply smooth muscles. Because the autonomic innervation, the autonomic nervous system innervate the smooth muscles, the cardiac muscles, and the glands. And we are saying that some of the cranial nerves have these parasympathetic function. Some of these cranial nerves have this parasympathetic function. The cranial nerves, when they emerge from the brain, they pass through openings. I'm not going to worry you with these ones. They pass through openings. So this is where the first cranial nerve is. So this is the second cranial nerve where it will pass. So if I'm going to use this one as an example, look at this is the nasal cavity. When we look doing the respiratory system, we said that as the superior aspect of the nasal cavity, the lateral or medial wall, we mentioned the olfactory mucosa. We mentioned the olfactory mucosa. So that is where you have what? The axons of the olfactory neurons. We said that they will pass through the cribriform plates and form the olfactory nerve. So the olfactory nerve is sensory, it's purely sensory, and is responsible for the sense of smell. When we do the special senses, we'll look at that one. Then the cranial nerve 2 is optic nerve. Optic nerve. Optic nerve is for what? Sight. So that one too is what? Sensory. The cranial nerve 3. So that 1 and 2, we'll talk about them more when we do the special senses. Cranial nerve 3, 4, and 6. I've left the 5. Cranial nerve 3, 4, and 6. what they do is that they are the one that will control the eyeball. They control the eyeball. They control the eyeball. So cranial nerve what? Help me. Cranial nerve what? 3, 4, and
4 and 6.
6. 3, 4, 6. We are saying they control what? The eyeball. They control the eyeball. Okay. Now, I just want a better diagram so that you can appreciate that one. That one I want you to know it now. So there's the eyeball. Hey, please, there's the eyeball. And there's the eyeball. So there's the eyeball. So there are 6 muscles, extrinsic muscles. There's the superior rectus, inferior rectus, lateral rectus, medial rectus. So there are 4 recti muscles and 2 oblique muscles, superior oblique, the inferior oblique. So there's this mnemonic that we use, SO4 LR6. So the superior oblique is innervated by cranial nerve 4. The lateral rectus is innervated by cranial nerve what? 6. The rest is innervated by cranial nerve what? 3. So please, that is all for cranial nerve 4 and cranial nerve 6. So if you look at the eye, this is the orbit, this is the nasal part, this is the temporal, so this is the nasal. This is the part that is closer to the what? To the nose. So no, I've interchanged it. Because this side is lateral. So this is the lateral. This side is the part that is closer to the nose. Okay. So the lateral rectus is the one that helps you to be able to look laterally. Laterally. That's why they are saying that the eyeball looks what? Outward. Outward, or what we call abduction. Abduction. So that is LR6. Then SO4. This one, the superior oblique. This one. Superior oblique is the one that helps you to rotate the eyeball down and outward. Down and out. The eyeball looks down, then laterally. So the rest are all cranial nerve what? 3, the oculomotor what? Nerve. The oculomotor nerve. So if you look at this one that we are doing, you see, I'm using this one, and this one makes it very, very, very simple. So watch the way they've done it here. They've done it this way. They've done it this way. So cranial F3, this is cranial F3. So you supply all the muscles of the eyeball, except the one supplied by the cranial nerve 4, the trochlear nerve, and the one supplied by what? Cranial nerve 6, the abducent. SO4, trochlear nerve. LR6, lateral rectus, abducent. All the rest are supplied by oculomotor what? Nerve. So you realize that when you are checking someone's trochlear nerve, this is how you check it. You say that the trochlear nerve superior oblique, it helps you to be able to look what? Down and out. So the eye feels to look down and what? Out. Then abducent nerve helps you to move the eyeball laterally. Now, what about the oculomotor nerve? Remember, I said that the oculomotor nerve, there are some cranial nerves that have parasympathetic function. Remember them well. 3, 7, 9, 10. Cranial nerve 3, 7, 9, 10 have parasympathetic function. Now, some say marry. So, the third cranial nerve, oculomotor nerve, is what? Motor. Now, let's look at the parasympathetic function. And please, that one is very, very important. And the diagram will even explain it. So, what are the parasympathetic function of the oculomotor nerve? The oculomotor nerve is the one responsible for moving the, what do you call it? The eyelid, upper eyelid. It supplies the levator palpebrae superioris. So that one is motor, it's a skeletal muscle. Now, for the parasympathetic function, if you look at the eye, where is the eye? This is the eye. If you look at the eye, there is the ciliary what? Muscle, which helps to adjust the size of the lens so that you can see far and near objects. A phenomenon that we call accommodation is the oculomotor nerve that supplies these ciliary muscles. Now, if you look at the iris also has some what? Muscles, smooth muscles. The iris also has some smooth muscles. That's so that you can see. Okay, so the iris has muscles. There's the iris the iris that controls the size of the pupil. So there are some muscles there. So these are the muscles. So you see these muscles here arranged radially. And there's this muscle here around circularly. So these smooth muscles that you find in the iris, they are controlled by the oculomotor nerve. So the oculomotor nerve is the one that is responsible for pupillary constriction. Pupillary what? Constriction. Pupillary constriction. Okay. Then, so that is why when someone dies, one of the you want to check whether the person dead or not. You want to use the eye. You throw lights on the eye. Let's say you throw lights on the right eye. The number is supposed to be a reflex. The reflex is that the people will constrict. Then the right one that you throw eye, when you constrict, the left one too will constrict too. But if there is still dilation, then it means that there is a problem. There is a problem. And of course, it means that the person is